is Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite top 10 romance dramas are in the comments below, because that's what we're talking about today. Yesterday, I just talked about my top 10 rom-coms, so you'll be able to check that at the end of this video. So let me know down in the comments below all of that. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers here on this community and this channel, so we can all gather together for our love for film and cinema. So just coming in at number 10, we have the Persephone Wallflower, a great coming of age story, having a great high school and environment and setting. This one boy that's just a freshman and coming up, trying to explore new things, and meeting these two high school seniors that are a couple, and just creating this great dynamic, helping them get to learn and explore life in the fullest. And while it doesn't have a comedic effect in its fullest extent, it still has a great light-hearted way of exploring things, a great way of having a great vibe that it really is lively, and even despite the heavy drama moments that really get you emotional, really pulls at your heartstrings, gets you down, it still has a great lively atmosphere that really explores life in the fullest way. And coming at number 9, we have Silver Linings Playbook. Now, this was an unexpected one I watched just a couple days back from making this ranking, and I just really enjoy the lovely atmosphere this brings once again. But it's still a heavier drama that I haven't expected. A father with OCD, this son with similar aspects to a mental illness, and just what they do with that, how they explore that, as well as combining that with a troubled relationship he had in his past, and as well as what he's doing to further himself into the future, as well as a couple other friends that help him along the way, are involved in different aspects of his life. The way they explore those characters are fast-paced, really quirky, and has this different sort of atmosphere. And the way they explore that and the relationship he begins to get into, Bradley Cooper is just a star in this. Robert De Niro is a great fatherhood looking figure, the way he acts in this. And then Jennifer Lawrence as well, as this other girl that's having her own difficulties through life, is just something that's really unexpected, that flows in a quick manner and completely has this heavy atmosphere that also is lighthearted in some notes and comedic almost to an extent, yet it weighs on this heavy drama that really pulls itself off at the end. And coming in at number 8, we have Before Sunrise. Of course, the best of the Before trilogy. I do enjoy each of them for their own. Before Sunrise is my favorite, just being the first aspect of this trilogy. I highly enjoy the simple and natural environment they build you up into, establishing these characters just through a walk through the park, essentially, and all of these different environments. Just a simple talking film that Richard Linklater really brings to life, really establishes these characters in the most simple of ways, but in the most lovely of ways, that really establishes the grounds to this relationship and this trilogy, to compile such a simple atmosphere and bringing all the right, lovely environment notes onto the big screen. And coming in number 7, we have Amour, a foreign language film that is really heavy. Just this dynamic with this woman with getting dementia, treated in all the right ways, and how they deal with that. The husband having to deal with all she's going through, and what he's facing as the one that loves her, and as the one that she's struggling with different things, forgetting things, and what they're doing throughout this film, and how it comes to a close is just a really heavy-hitting film that I haven't watched in a few years, but it's still memorable for all of its strong notes that really hit home, really establishes and respectfully looks into and explores this idea of what this relationship is like. And coming in number 6, we have American Beauty. Now this one is almost an anti-love story to the aspect that it's a romantic drama, and it is really strong on its footnotes. Annette Bening, Kevin Spacey have great performances as this couple that's sort of struggling with their marriage for years now, and the daughter they deal with along the way, and yet they're having a couple different affairs in just the ideas that they're going through and just how they explore this, and yet exploring the simplicity of life through marriage, and then also the beauty of life through this other kid that's introducing and gets involved with the daughter. How they're doing that is such a well-told film, and Sam Mendes exploring this as his directorial debut is really fantastic for such a first introduction to this director, and compository aspects to this film. Has great cinematography, great way of exploring the emotions that these characters express, and it really translates well in such a surprising manner. And before we go into my top 5, make sure to comment down below your top 5 favorite romance dramas, from your least favorite to your favorite of all time, so we can explore our different takes and our different opinions as we talk about films we love. And going into my top 5, we have La La Land. Now this is a common one that we all love, just a great musical that goes in all the right ways and then lands in a way that is just really kind of sad and unexpected. Just what they do with it. Damien Chazelle has a great directing style, how they bring this to life. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling has great chemistry, and it's a really lively and fun atmosphere. The soundtrack is fantastic, yet as it goes to the end, without spoiling it for those that haven't seen it, it just ends on a heavy-hitting note that really is lovely for what this film is portraying, because things don't always go the way you expect, and yet it's so powerful all the same. And coming in number 4, we have Punch Drunk Love. Adam Sandler's one of his best performances to this day. Paul Thomas Anderson has a great directing style to this, creating the expression of love through all these different weird and quirky atmospheres, and just the way they go through the different work environment, exploring the life of a single man that hasn't had love in a while, and just the atmosphere, creating these different sort of characters with different aspects, creating different jobs, and then also adding different crazy subplots along the way that still feels grounded down to earth, is something that's really impressive for what they bring to the screen, and how they translate that into such a lovely and yet still dramatic film that has all the right footnotes to make something that really expresses itself. Number 3, we have The Lovers, a film that expresses divorce in such an interesting and optimistic way, almost in just this weird A24 style film that's just expressing this different sort of atmosphere about these lovers that are just sort of out of touch with each other for a while, sort of starting to begin having affairs, and there's a simple touch of life that brings them together again in this weird sort of way, and just what they do with that, how it explores that, and the ideas of divorce, and their son that's off at college that's coming home for a weekend. It just goes about in such an interesting fashion that is upsetting, and yet almost has warm vibes in all the right ways, having this roller coaster of emotions for what all unravels because of what they're going through. How it touches on those subjects is such an out of touch of life sort of scenario, yet very grounded down to earth, and how it explores these ideas, what it does with it, and the way it flows is so fashionably real that it's very unexpectedly very good and very in touch with how I connect with this film in such an odd and real sort of way. By coming in at number 2, we have Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet have great performance throughout this film. Charlie Kaufman, of course, is an excellent writer, and as the director has a great way of exploring this, about this idea that you can have this science fiction type of atmosphere and making some lovers forget each other through the erasing of their mind. But the way this relationship particularly develops with just randomly meeting on a train and having this sort of love affair as they go later on, it's a way that develops, and then not wanting to forget each other just develops in such a fascinating way that is so rich in the romance and yet heavy on the ideas that they could forget each other, and what they do with that, how it progresses, is such an interesting concept, and yet executed in all the right ways, all the right pacing, and the way it's explored, the way it's edited out of order is such a great way of exploring this concept and really nails all the right ways of doing it. But coming in at number 1, we have Ordinary Love. Now, I just really adore this film, starring Liam Neeson and Leslie Manville, a couple that's dealing with the wife's breast cancer that starts to develop, takes place over the span of a year as she goes through chemotherapy and all that, what they have to deal with that, how they're dealing with it, the anger and all the emotions, as it's just a simple, well-grounded relationship between the two, what they do and how they explore the couple's past just through a couple of ideas toward their child they used to have, what is all going on in their current life, and a couple of side characters they meet along the way. That's a couple as well. Just how they deal with it, this simple exploration of this journey, dealing with the breast cancer, how they're going and dealing with the man in the household's relationship, and just the performances are very simple, very grounded. The environment is so simple, and yet the colors are executed in the most fashionable way. The soundtrack is very simple, very minimal, and yet adds so much more to the film, to the emotions of the film. And while it's not a film that quite works for everyone, it is a film that I personally love. I think it's extraordinary the way they explore this, and for me personally, Liam Neeson, Leslie Manville, and the director, how they cinematography this film is just really extraordinary, and it makes it my number 1 romance film of all time. So that's just my top 10 romance films of all time, and I'd love to see you join in the discussion down in the comments below. What are your top 10 romance drama films that you have seen thus far, so we can explore and talk our love for cinema together? And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so we can help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers here on this channel, as I'm making a big push to make more content out there for you guys. And if you have any video suggestions, please feel free to throw them out there for me as well. And go do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.